Okay, we pick it up here when we're down near the 0, 0 point for the assembly. And so we're going to go ahead and bring in, hopefully you click there and you have an ability to bring in, right, our tool palettes, generic, daylight. We're going to go ahead and close up the map palette there. Remember, fully functioning AutoCAD map is on the program. Basic assemblies imperial. We're going to bring in the, somehow I lost the secondary road when I did this before. Common assemblies, we're going to go with a divided primary road full section, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring it in at 0, 0. Okay, that kind of goes through. Remember, there's all kinds of settings on the assembly. In this case, you're closer to topography, so it shouldn't be a big deal. You got an assembly set up. You have some problems on my computer with whether or not it will work. That's based on where this will go, but now we're going to go with V for view. New, clicky clicks off, assembly. You don't need to see any of these things to do it, but if you wanted to go ahead and kind of, it's nice to see them as you're doing it. Overall, set current. I think Jim's got this one down pretty well by having that view, and basically depending how you lay that out, that view, all of your views are laid right in here. So you can go to your overall, you can go to your assembly, you can go to your overall profile, all just like that. We're going to go to the overall so we can get a better fuzzy feeling when we do this. Go ahead and go back to home. We're going to make a simple corridor, create a simple corridor. Remember, we're going to give it a good name, underscore December 16th. Standard, you're going to hit OK here. You're going to select from a list. Learn to select from lists, not off the screen. Spacebar, assembly there. The targets is an incredibly important thing. In this case, we just have a surface target, but you will have other targets as you get going on the software. I'm going to grab it, that X topo. I hit OK here. It's going to go ahead and it's made my surface here. Now, realistically, there's all kinds of back and forth you can do, but immediately, once you made a corridor and it looks good, you might just as well go into the corridor right there and go, or better yet, select the corridor and go up and go to corridor properties. Remember, this is where we would have done a different region, but go away right away to make a surface. Going to make one surface for everything it creates and then get rid of most of them. That's just how it works as far as I can tell. You're going to keep the top. You click on here. You can't right click and change. You just say proposed top, and then you start figuring out where is your datum surface. It's not there, it's not there, it's not there, and this is just how it appears to work. You've got to make all the surfaces that would appear for this to work. So right there, number 7 is the one you want to keep. So you can go to here, 1 through shift right click 6, delete, and then of course that 2 becomes now 3, 4, 5. So actually you can't delete more than one at a time. So I'm going to hit there 2. I'm going to hit 3. I'm going to hit 4. I'm deleting all the ones except for the one I want to keep. The one I wanted to keep, of course, was datum. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that proposed datum. Understand, naming these surfaces becomes incredibly important because there's going to be so many of them. Now you can go ahead and get rid of the rest. These surfaces are going to be used in your computations and on your sections, which you'll make in a second when you do sample line groups. So you've got a surface, and if you notice there, you notice how those boundaries were not made. So what it's nice to do is to go ahead again and grab the profile, go to corridor properties, and go to boundaries here, and it seems to work okay. You right click, add automatically daylight, and the same thing, right click, add automatically daylight, and for all intents and purposes you now have that surface done, and you see how it's all cleaned up. Next process, or the process that you can proceed along is to make sample line groups. And so those are your sample line groups. This thing's working pretty hard. We'll stop it in a second and save it, but I'm going to go ahead and hit sample line groups again. Again, you're going to select from an alignment. This is what you'll see. Realistically, you can try to sample right away, right? Very often you have to go back and resample the data. So Xtopo December 16th quarter, you got lots of stuff there. You're going to hit OK. And you're going to tell it you want to go create sample line groups. I'm sorry, you're going to go here to by range of stations, and you're going to go every 50, and then every 25 in the curves. Try that again by range of stations, 50, 25, hit OK. Override it all, I guess. And what you're going to see very often, things are going to come up and they're not going to be necessarily working the way you want. There are your sample line groups. Sample line groups are incredibly important. It's what does your computations. And so what you're going to do now in your sample line groups is, if you'd like to look at them, see what you sampled, you go to create multiple views for section views. Kind of go through and you have some settings you can change here. You're going to create your section views out here to the right and hope that things come in correctly. I'm going to work pretty hard on these. If you notice my settings here, they came in pretty well. Better than they may on the machines in the school, but in essence you've got a lot of information there. Part of that's going to look odd because you want to bring those in at 1 to 10 when you actually bring those in, and notice how the text size comes back down here. And you've got some relatively decent stuff in there right now. A lot of information that may or may not be relevant. You can see some error with the datum, but you've got information that will make sense, and so you're feeling a little bit better finally about doing this. I'm going to erase them all out. Feeling a little bit better about doing a computations, though. Understand very often you have to unsample and resample those surfaces that came from the sample line group. So we're going to try this. You're going to go ahead and go to Analyze. And you're going to compute quantities. And you, once again, for that group here, this is where it comes up, and you want to tell it the existing grade. You notice there, they're not there, and the datum, they're not there. So that becomes pretty much of a hassle because I didn't go through the right process of sampling later. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Cancel. I'm going to go back now to sample line groups. This is one small caveat in the program, that if you do it right away, you've got to go ahead and sample more sizes. You're going to sample proposed top and the proposed datum. Those are really the two you need, and the Xtopo. So those are all set. You're going to hit Apply. Okay, so you've decided you got to resample these surfaces, which means now when you go back here and try it again, this time escape, compute quantities, grab that same sample line group. Your targets, the existing topo is the target for existing grade, and your proposed grade is going to be the datum. Hit OK here, you'll get that error, you hit OK, and hopefully you have computations, so when you do a volume table right now, it comes in correctly. We'll go ahead and try to do a volume table out to the side. Hit a button here, and it's done your computations. So you have a whole lot there, kind of calculations done already. You've kind of more or less done the whole design. The only thing left now is the sheets. And so the sheets are going to come back down to, again, a question of writing a script file that tells you exactly what you want, where you want the sheets that's going to correspond with each of your other views. So if you remember back to Jim's idea, go to the view here. We're going to go to the sheet 1 plan, right? We have an idea of what's happening there in terms of our station. This is going to go from 0 to 15. We can go to sheet 2 plan. You're going to write that down, decide how far it's going to go, and then to sheet 3 plan, and you're going to write those down. And when you're going to go ahead and apply You're going to make profile views by keying in and knowing what your data elevation, and you're pretty much good to go. You're done with a design. We'll do the plotting next.